What you are about to hear did not arrive by accident. Before your eyes move away, before another voice steals your attention, remain here for just a little while. Something has been waiting for this exact moment, and whether you believe in signs or dismiss them, your heart already recognized that this message carries a weight you cannot explain. There are thousands of voices competing for your attention every single day, yet somehow these words found you. That is not the part you should question. The real question is why your spirit suddenly became so still. My beloved child, you have heard many opinions about yourself, but there is one sentence that has quietly followed you through years of your life. Sometimes it was spoken with laughter. Sometimes it arrived disguised as advice. Sometimes it hid behind compliments that never felt like compliments at all. Your height makes you look like a monster. The words changed from mouth to mouth. Too tall, too intimidating, too different, too noticeable, too much. You smiled when they expected you to laugh with them, but I saw what happened after everyone left. I watched you stand in front of mirrors, not searching for beauty, but searching for permission to exist without apologizing. I watched you bend your shoulders just a little lower when entering crowded rooms. I watched you choose seats in the back because you were tired of being noticed before you even spoke. No one else noticed. I did. Even when you convinced yourself those comments no longer mattered, they continued echoing inside places you thought had already healed. But listen carefully. The reason this message found you today is not because I want to remind you of those wounds. It is because someone has lied to you for far too long. There is a difference between being seen and being understood. Almost no one has understood what I was creating when I shaped your life. They looked at measurements. I looked at purpose. They measured inches. I measured impact. They believed size determined identity. I knew identity would determine history, and history has not finished introducing you yet. You have spent years trying to become smaller in ways that had nothing to do with your body, smaller dreams, smaller expectations, smaller voice, smaller confidence, smaller presence, because somewhere deep inside, you believed that if you became easier for others to accept, they might finally stop making you feel different. Yet every time you shrank yourself emotionally, something inside you became unbearably heavy. Have you ever wondered why pretending to be less than you truly are feels so exhausting? Because your soul recognizes every compromise your mind tries to justify. There is something inside you that refuses to disappear. That resistance is not arrogance. It is design. You thought your greatest battle was with people. It never was. Your greatest battle has always been against the version of yourself that believed rejection was proof that you were built incorrectly. That version has survived for years. But tonight, its grip begins to loosen. There is something I need you to remember, though perhaps you have never heard it before. Everything I create attracts misunderstanding before it attracts honor. Mountains are called obstacles before they become landmarks. Storms are called disasters before they become testimonies. Seeds are called invisible before they become forests, and people chosen for uncommon assignments are almost always misunderstood before they are recognized. You thought they were rejecting your appearance. Sometimes, they were reacting to your presence, not because you frightened them, because they could not explain why your existence unsettled something inside them. There are people who have entered rooms carrying confidence borrowed from everyone else's approval. Then you walked in. Without saying a word, something shifted. Not because you were perfect, not because you were louder, not because you demanded attention, but because authentic presence always exposes artificial confidence. They never knew why they suddenly felt uncomfortable, so they blamed what they could see. Your height, your appearance, your difference, anything except the truth. The truth is harder to admit. Real strength silently confronts hidden insecurity, and insecurity almost always disguises itself as criticism. You blamed yourself for battles that never belonged to you. How many nights did you replay conversations? How many mornings did you promise yourself to stop caring? How many photographs did you avoid because someone had already convinced you that standing beside others made you look strange? You remember those moments. I remember them too. Not one escaped my attention. Not one tear evaporated unnoticed. Not one silent prayer disappeared unanswered. You wondered why I remained quiet. But silence is not absence. Sometimes silence is preparation, because answers given too early become information. Answers given at the appointed moment become transformation. This is that moment. There are memories you buried so deeply that even you forgot where they were hidden. Yet every decision you make still passes through them. You tell yourself you are simply introverted, simply cautious, simply reserved. But beneath those labels lives an older story, the story of someone who learned that standing out often invited pain, so you began editing yourself before anyone else could. You apologized before making requests. You laughed before anyone could laugh first. You accepted less than your worth because rejection felt familiar. Familiar pain eventually disguises itself as comfort. But I did not create you to become comfortable inside your own limitations. I created you to outgrow them. There is something happening inside your life that has been building quietly for longer than you realize. Certain friendships ended. Certain opportunities disappeared. Certain doors refused to open. You assumed those were losses. Were they, or was I removing rooms where you constantly felt obligated to become smaller? Think carefully. How many places called you too much, while secretly benefiting from everything you carried? How many people celebrated your kindness, but feared your confidence? How many conversations praised humility, only because they preferred you doubting yourself? Not everyone wanted your healing. Some preferred your insecurity, because insecure people are easier to control. Confident souls ask different questions. Healed people stop begging for permission, and those who finally understand who they are become impossible to manipulate. That frightened more people than you know. You kept asking why certain relationships suddenly changed. You wondered why affection turned into distance, support transformed into silence, encouragement became competition. You searched yourself for flaws. You searched your appearance, your personality, your voice, your height, everything except the hidden truth. Growth reveals intentions that comfort keeps hidden. When you remained uncertain, many stayed close. When you slowly began discovering your worth, some quietly disappeared. You mourned their absence. Heaven celebrated your freedom. Do you understand now? Not every departure is abandonment. sometimes it is protection wearing unfamiliar clothing. There is another reason this message reached you. Tonight, it concerns something you have felt recently but have struggled to explain, the strange feeling that your life is approaching a turning point. You cannot describe it. Nothing dramatic has happened. Yet something inside keeps whispering, prepare. You dismissed it. You called it imagination, restlessness, wishful thinking. But what if it was recognition? What if your spirit noticed movement before your eyes could? Have you noticed how old habits no longer satisfy you? How conversations that once entertained you now leave you empty? How you have begun craving something deeper without knowing exactly what that something is? That hunger is not random. Transformation often announces itself as dissatisfaction long before visible change arrives. You are standing closer to a threshold than you realize, but every threshold demands one final confrontation, not with another person. With yourself, specifically, the version of yourself still carrying old accusations, the voice saying, "You are too different. You make people uncomfortable. You should stay quiet. You should not take up so much space." Listen carefully. That voice has spoken inside your mind for years, yet it has never once spoken with mine. My voice has always sounded different. I say, rise, stand, become. Do not apologize for existing exactly as I formed you. You have mistaken condemnation for conviction. They are not the same. Condemnation chains you to shame. Conviction calls you toward freedom. One pushes your face toward the ground. The other lifts your eyes toward possibility. Can you feel the difference? Your heart already knows which voice has been speaking, but something unexpected is about to happen. Very soon, someone will see in you what others ignored, not because you suddenly changed, because they will possess the vision others lacked, and when that moment arrives, you will be tempted to think your value finally appeared. No, your value was always there. Recognition simply arrived late. Diamonds remain diamonds before anyone discovers them. Stars burn long before anyone gives them names. Purpose exists before applause. Never confuse delayed recognition with delayed worth. You have been waiting for evidence that you matter. Meanwhile, heaven has been waiting for you to believe it without evidence. That is where everything changes. Faith was never only about believing in me. It also includes believing what I believe about you.